First cabin was just off the road about 200 yards, but you had to walk through a part of the forest to get to it. This cabin was awesome. You could only imagine the owners living here out in the wilderness.
We heard about this old church and graveyard that was close near. The church was literally in the middle of the forest. I could only imagine walking there every Sunday and how tough that must have been. The best part was the graveyard directly behind it. Some of the gravestones were 150 years old or older. We checked out all the names and found that whole families were buried there.
The best part of Cage Cove was this little trail that leads to a home way up in the forest. The guy who lived there had his own stable, mill, natural spring, built out of logs. It was an active area for bears, but this didn't stop us because Keith, Kevin, and I were dying to see a bear and maybe film it. We were on our way back to the car when Keith told me that we should go walk down this little trail and maybe see a bear. It wasn't 5 minutes later that we walked upon two black bears walking along a little ditch. Our hearts stopped for a second, not from fear, but excitement. For a second, we thought the bears started running toward us, but we realized they were just spooked. They blocked the path, so we had to walk through a field to get back to our car. It was an experience that made the trip.
The last day of the trip, we decided to do a little exploring. We talked to some people and found a couple nice little trails to hike. The map showed another waterfall that was close near. After some searching, we finally saw it way in the distance off of the road.
We eventually found this really big water hole that had big boulders and cliffs. There were about 100 people around there swimming in the water and relaxing after a long, hot day.
Keith and Kevin went over to the cliff and filmed people jumping off. All in all, it was a good vibe and everybody was having fun. We left Tennessee later that day, but we didn't leave without having days of memories from our trip that we will always remember.
On the way home, we stopped at the New River Gorge in West Virginia. The bridge is so high that every year skydivers are allowed one day when they can jump off of it. From the lookout point, all you could see was the bridge and air, and there was a lot of air under the bridge.
My kids and I were all enjoying the view of the bridge from the lookout point. Paul was standing a little further back than us, though. It was a nice summer evening with the sun setting behind the bridge, and all we could think about was staying on vacation forever.
On the last day of our vacation, we decided to go to Clingman's Dome, the second highest peak in eastern United States. We started driving down at the bottom. It took over a half hour to drive to the top. The whole time, we were steadily climbing. We climbed through the clouds, and when we got to the very top, the clouds were below us. The view was awesome, although sometimes you couldn't see because the wind would blow the clouds in and you couldn't see nothing. When the clouds moved away, you had a beautiful view.